Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners Budget Work Session for May the 30th, 2013.
I can do it, or you can skip it.
Is there anything?
And Rich will be here shortly.
Okay, we're going to skip number 2 then, and we're going to wait on our attorney to get here to give us some information. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, so, yes, ma'am. Do you want to do some intros? Are you guys going to do some intros first? Ann?
I think we're good.
Good. You ready, Noel? Yesterday when we were doing, come on.
This is a joke, isn't
Yesterday
it,
when
Liz?
it is a joke. No. Yesterday during some of ours and the day before, staff gave us a little bit of an intro on some of them, so I just wanted to make sure if Ann needed to tell us anything before you got started, but we're good to go.
Thank you.
So first up, we've got the Arts Council. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for allowing us to come here. We have several board members. Betsy Lyles is the chair of our board, and you see the others with their Arts Means Business signs on. And Mr. Cox is wearing our hat right now. First of all, just wanted to thank you so much for everything that the county commissioners have done for the Cabarrus Arts Council and the county since 1980. In 1980, you, those who were in your seats, asked the Cabarrus Arts Council that the Arts Council be formed, and then in 1982 asked us to become the designated county partner, which meant that we would work with the North Carolina Arts Council to apply and receive grassroots arts funding. And we've done that for the county ever since, and it's been a wonderful partnership. In 2000, the Arts Council had been without paid staff for 8 years, and that's hard, as everybody knows, on a nonprofit. And in that year, the commissioners determined to give $26,000 to the Arts Council so that they could hire an executive director. And it's really directly because of that funding and that funding in all of the succeeding years that has made it so we've been able to create these school programs, been able to really support all of the arts organizations throughout the community to help new arts organizations form, and we've seen lots of economic activity as a result of that. And so we'll just go through really quickly here to talk about also as of 2005, the commissioners invited the Arts Council to move into the beautifully renovated historic courthouse. And that has made all the difference in the world to the programs that we have been able to create. In 2006, the Arts Council raised $405,000, and in 2012, we have raised an additional $25,000 that we have put into the renovation of the historic courthouse. We created art galleries on the first floor, as you know, with museum track lighting, a state-of-the-art theater in the former courtroom. We have a green room, dressing rooms, and office space in the former attic. And with additional funds, we have added additional lighting and sound this year. In 2007, the galleries opened, and the Arts Council coordinated the first downtown art walks, which were really interesting because at that point there were no other galleries in downtown Concord. And that's when we got all of the shops and the restaurants involved to create art galleries to show off the local artists. That has grown each year, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later. The last art walk that we had not only featured 20 artists within our galleries, but 160 throughout downtown Concord, and then at Clearwater Artist Studios and a few other off-site locations. In 2008, the Davis Theater, you were really good, thank you, Megan, that had its grand opening featuring 2 packed houses for 100 Years of Broadway. In that same year, right after our opening, the Arts Council discovered leaks in the roof on the stage. We had just had it all renovated. General Services immediately came over. I think there were like 25 leaks where buckets were literally put there until you all replaced the roof. And the people who replaced the roof were telling us that had that not been discovered so quickly, tremendous amount of damage would have been done to that beautiful building. The county continues to receive an excellent return on investment in the Arts Council. We really do serve as an economic catalyst. The formerly closed and mostly empty historic courthouse now has visitors, tourists, meetings, art exhibitions, and performances with lively activity 6 days a week now. on all 3 floors. In 11-12, we had over 11,000 visitors to the galleries. As of today, we have had over 14,000 this year. So it just continues to increase. That's a dramatic increase, and we are really pleased with that. This activity really stimulates the economy throughout the entire county. 5 art walks this past year attracted over 5,000 visitors, and they fill the restaurants. The visitors purchase things at the shops that are open. It's just a really lively, I know most of you all have come down to several of those times in downtown Concord, and it attracts people from across the county and from elsewhere to come. They've become very popular. 12 Davis Theater performances always fill the downtown restaurants with audiences. When I say downtown, it's downtown Concord, but it's also, we work in coordination with some of the restaurants in Kannapolis and in Afton Village for dinner and a show, encouraging people to go eat dinner in the restaurants before they come. And the restaurants tell me they get extra food for those nights because they know they are just turning people over really quickly before they send them all on over to the theater. And 11 Modern Film Fest screenings in the Davis attract intimate audiences to downtown. That's been a really interesting partnership with the Gem Theater and Modern Film Fest. As you all know, we've got the at the Gem Theater, there's the October Modern Film Fest, and then the folks who coordinated that really wanted to get some of the Concord folks involved too, to try to, bring more people to Kannapolis, and thought, well, what if we do monthly screenings in the Davis Theater, and that's been a really nice partnership there. The Arts Council serves as an integral resource for the entire county. Almost 30,000 students and teachers see professional performances annually through our Students Take Part in the Arts program. That is tied for the 4th largest arts and education program in North Carolina. It's one of the longest lasting one and most enduring. Again, that's one of the things that your money helps support. In 11-12, the Arts Council distributed $20,189 in grassroots grants from the State Arts Council and augmented that state funding with an additional grant for a grand total of $37,300. Arts Council programs and grants reached over 300,000 participants in 2011 and 12. These included things like the Kannapolis Concert Series, the Hospice Interlude Choir, Logan Daycare Music Program, the Multicultural Student Union Dance Team, as well as arts organizations across the county. Every year since 2000, the county has supported the Arts Council with $26,000, and our request is the same for 2013-14. And as I said at the very beginning, that funding, in addition to your very generous allowing us to use the building and to allow us to make upgrades in the building, has made it possible for us to serve the county even more widely and deeply than we were before. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioners, any questions? Anybody want to start?
What's the total contribution the City of Concord provides to the Arts Council?
The City of Concord is $28,000, I believe.
Okay. And y'all's building is about 10,000 square feet?
The historic
That you
courthouse.
use, that the Arts Council uses?
I couldn't tell you that, Jay.
Do you know about how much that is, Mr. Downs?
Meg, go to the next slide.
It's approximately 11,000.
Yeah, go. The
Okay.
next slide has it right there.
11,635. 635 square feet.
Who figured up rent at 69? That's about $4, $6 a square foot?
That's what Kyle used to calculate rent.
So actually, I don't think it's $6, I think it's more than that. So we're giving you substantially more than just $26,000.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're giving us $26,000 in cash.
Right.
And then the in-kind, yes.
Okay.
And then when we moved in, one of the agreements was that we would, raise money to upgrade as well. And that's why the old attic that, pigeons would fly in and out of now, that's in great shape, and as you know, Jay, the air conditioning is in fabulous shape, thanks to you all. But I think, buildings that are used are really in much better shape than ones that sit there empty.
my concern is the amount, actually, it's about I think it's more about $200,000 that we provide to the Arts Council on a year in and year out basis. So I'm just trying to
In
figure out.
services, mhm,
Right,
and
it's services, it's not rent. Okay.
And this is a great model. It is used in a lot of communities with the counties and the cities, and what most of them look at is the economic impact it brings into the community, and they feel that that is really worth it. And I hope that you all continue to feel that way. You all have,
And the city receives the same economic impact. I mean, they get sales tax, they get business downtown. In fact, they get promotion of downtown Concord.
right, and they don't have a facility. We were looking before we were invited by the county. The county commissioners had been looking for actually a county department, my understanding is, to move into the historic courthouse. It was renovated in 2002, I believe, historically, and then there was historic Cabarrus was there, but it was closed. The building was closed, and here was this gorgeous building that nobody was going into. And I think that's why a couple of the commissioners approached me and said, you really need to see if the Arts Council can move in there. And that's why that happened. And then we decided if we were going to do that, we might as really make it an arts center and raise that money. And that was a really nice partnership.
I think you've done a tremendous job with the old courthouse. My question is a cash contribution necessary going, for this budget and going forward?
Well, I'll tell you, as far as we're concerned, that $26,000 is a huge amount for us, for our budget. It's not an overbearing amount, and that the Arts Council would not fall apart. I would probably have to get rid of a staff person, which would mean that I would have to get rid of some programs that we do. It would have a that's one of the reasons we never asked for more, is because you all are giving us so much, but I will say that the $26,000 that you would give us is really, really vital to what we're able to do.
And one of the main things it goes to, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the school programs, which is one of the most important things we do.
Well, we do $40,000 to that's not up there, is it?
That's not included.
No. So on top of that, so now we're about well over $200,000 with $40,000 to the schools that go to y'all. Because we give $40,000 to the schools, that ends up going to y'all as well. Is that correct?
I don't know where their money comes from.
Yeah, well.
Half of it, part of it comes from the school system. It's not $40,000, and part of it comes from the schools themselves. A lot of them, the PTO pays $1 a child.
The schools were here yesterday, and they said it was $40,000 plus $10,000 in transportation, I believe.
Yeah, and that doesn't go to us,
Well,
yeah.
the 10,000 doesn't, but the 40
But
does.
in effect, though, Jay, that saves them a tremendous amount of money, because since we charge $1 a child, and what the school system ends up paying in effect is $2 a child, just like Kannapolis does. Both school systems do exactly the same thing. If those children were going to the shows that they used to go to, and they still sometimes do in Charlotte, we check it periodically. Though they would be using the same buses to go to Charlotte and back. This is one of the reasons it's been so successful. They'd be paying $18 to $20 a ticket for those. So if you look at it that way, we're saving, and they would still have to use money that they get from the county to supply that, however they want to do it. So if you look at that, it's the difference between, take out the gas, I don't know what it would cost for that, but just the difference in the ticket prices is, $18 a head different.
Have you asked for an additional contribution from the city of Concord since they're receiving?
Yeah, and I've not
tremendous-
gotten an answer this year yet. I don't have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I was going to ask you, with the school's contribution, do you receive no cash contribution from the school system?
We don't consider that a contribution. It's a payment for services. With the way we look at it is we divide it. When we set up the whole program, I worked really closely with the State Arts Council. They said the programs that die are the ones where the Arts Council funds 100% of the program. It needs to be a partnership with the schools and the Arts Council. And so that's where we set up $1 per child for the schools. Each, whether it's parent or PTO or the individual school's budget, they pay that. The school system pays $1 a child, but it's like a ticket fee.
So how much would you say the school system itself?
I hesitate
$1.
because I don't want to sound like I'm I would have to look exactly at that from this last, and I could get that to you very easily. Pardon me? Oh, no, it doesn't cost.
Right.
It's about a third.
It doesn't cover the cost of the programs that we're bringing in
Right.
for the students.
I understand. Well, what I'm trying to get to is that if we're allocating $40,000 to the school system for this and it's not making it to you, where's it going? So that's what I'm trying to get to. I understand what you're
Well,
saying.
I'll get that, I will look at that in our, and it may, what may be included in that is the gas, and I don't see anything, because they're paying for the
Well,
gas.
if
They
they're-
don't have to pay the Arts Council for the
They're
gas.
getting an additional 10,000 for transportation,
They
correct?
said that they spent
Yeah.
about 50,000, 40 going towards tickets and 10,000 towards their transportation costs. That's what they said does like.
Which would make sense, so they're 30,000 some
They're saying
students plus.
that they have 30,000 students, and during the year,
Right.
they have at $1 a student that they're getting,
Right.
that's how many are coming, 40,000 are
Well, that would add up.
hits,
That makes sense.
is what they were saying. Now, whether that, that's a round number, obviously, and we did the schools yesterday.
Yeah.
So we were asking a lot of questions about the schools budget, and that came up just, because we know there's a partnership.
Right.
So that's
Well,
what
that
we were
would add
getting at.
up.
But
I mean, that would
if
be-
you could come up with some numbers, I guess, to show school participation and,
There's
both
still-
systems, what
yeah.
they do.
There's
Is that
still
what we're looking at?
$10,000, yeah, missing. If they've got 32,000 students. and
Well,
they're getting
some
40
students could
from-
go to more than one show, some students might not go at all.
Well,
You said $2. I think there's a little confusion there, so, but I'm
we
sure
need to-
you track the
Yeah,
programs
I
that
can
you offer.
get that
The
to
ones you offer for
very
students are
easily.
during the day,
Very easily.
during the school day, and so you should be able to track those differently than something you'd offer at night where, adults are going to.
But I will tell you, one of the things that I think is a real success story of this program, there are two things. One is that the schools consider it so important that 2 years ago, when they didn't have enough money to pay for it, I went to the Cannon Foundation and gave us a bridge grant. And during that year, that was the first year of the recession, when you all were hit terribly, the schools were, the Arts Council was. So the Cannon Foundation came in and did a bridge gap to give us the opportunity to totally revamp the program if we needed to. And instead, because of the incredible amount of money that it's saving, because the kids were not able to see anything at that point with the arts or anything else. And another thing we did is we used to have almost all of the kids bused to A.L. Brown because it's easily handicapped accessible, it was an easy thing in and out. And talked with Dr. Shepard, and what we did was then he talked with the high schools in town, and we now schedule the programs for the high school that is closest to the elementary school, so it saves that gas money. So it's a really beautiful partnership, and there are a lot of those kind of programs that have died in the recession because there has not been that strong partnership, and they haven't kept the cost as low.
And just,
Even-
on a personal note, I have ushered many times with these programs, and I have never ushered when a teacher has not come up to me and thanked us and said, please keep this program. I mean, they really appreciate the value of it. The students learn so much, and I have had teachers tell me that their kids would not see anything like this at all. They wouldn't have that opportunity if it weren't, for us. So it's a strong program and much needed.
Yeah. I think we're just trying to get a handle
Yeah.
on different numbers
Yeah.
and attendance, and I don't think anybody disputes that you have a lot of good programs.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make sure we ask good questions. The other thing, and I did not say this at the beginning of the workshop, we are recording this, which will be broadcast on TV, and a lot of times we ask questions that we may know answers to for everybody that's here, all you other groups. We'll ask questions because we want to make sure that people listening to our shows get more information. So we do tend to ask kind of probing questions to get more information out there not for our own benefit, but also for the public's benefit. So any other questions concerning the Arts Council that any commissioner has?
I would like to I'm sorry, I don't have any questions. I would like to make certain, I don't think $6 a square foot is not correct. I think it's more $14 a square foot that we need to reflect.
For professional office space, we're seeing anywhere from $14 to $16, $18.
So I would say on the low end, I'd do $14 just to make certain that if this is approved, then we know how much money is actually going to the Arts Council.
You'd also have to consider the fact that that's an old courthouse building too, and it's not an upfitted office space.
Well, it is, it would be considered, I think it would be considered Class A space.
But
with the way-
it's not modern.
You been in it?
Yeah, I've been in it.
It's pretty modern. I mean, the
not
space right
com-
across the
not
street.
Not compared to the Health Alliance building.
Right.
Uh,
Health Alliance building, I think, would be $17 to $20 a square foot. But
But, I mean, what else would you put over if they weren't in it?
you can put offices.
Well, you could. Could put the court- could
I
put
tell you
the
this,
court
if the
system-
county wants to rent me that building for $6 a square foot, I'll do it.
Could put the court system back in there, I guess.
No, there's too
Oh,
many
cool.
blowhards there.
Huh?
There's too many blowhards there.
Well, it looks to me like for the amount of money they get and the amount of people that they serve, it's not a great cost, I don't think.
I agree. My concern is the contribution. That's my concern. And I think in the contribution, along with the other factors, it is not a $26,000 decision, it's a $200 and some odd thousand decision.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get, that's what I think is important.
Well, and I would certainly like to see City of Concord contribute a larger cash contribution. I mean, they certainly see, the most economic impact from that, and I think that would certainly help out.
Commissioner White and I compared our notes, and the figure that we were playing around with that got up to $50,000 was actually, the school system said $30,000 for the students, $10,000 for transportation. So
And
a
that
total-
fits
That would
with
make
what?
sense.
Total of 40, so that's
Yeah.
Right.
a little bit more in line, but, I think that I applaud the commissioners that came before me and the arrangement that they worked out with the Arts Council. That building is of great historical significance to Cabarrus County. This provides a wonderful opportunity not only for the general public, but for school children and students to visit there and to learn about the history of Cabarrus County, as well as the arts enrichment programs that occur there. I think it is a good investment. I think we will reap benefits for many years to come, and I applaud all of you, and most specifically, the public-private partnership, which, I wish we could do this in more things, but the number of private dollars that you raise, and I mentioned at our last commission meeting the attendance at the fundraising breakfast that you just had. I don't think there's any other organization in Cabarrus County or anywhere close around that gets out in excess of 700 people at 7 o'clock in the morning to support that organization. So thank you for what you do.
We can, okay.
Okay. Any other questions at this time for the Arts Council? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, on your iPads, if you'll go back to page 2, we're going to go back up. If CBV folks, if you'll wait just a second, we're going to go back up and get the first item that we skipped over. Glad to have you here.
Thank
Mr.
you,
Cook?
Madam Chair.
We have before us some information about setting a public hearing, and we talked about this, I forgot when we talked about it,
Well, we
a little
actually-
bit, but if you want to give us the history and everything that we need to consider, please.
Yes, I think we gave you a short preview of it at the last meeting. This is a bit unusual because other than conducting this public hearing, it doesn't involve the county in any way. The county is not obliged for these bonds. There's no pledge of any.
When you say obliged, we don't have to pay for them, we're not issuing them?
That is correct. We don't issue them. You're not, the board is, and the county is not obligated for the bonds, does not guarantee them, has actually nothing to do with these bonds whatsoever. It actually arises from a provision in the Internal Revenue Code, I think it's section 147, that allows the interest on these bonds to be tax exempt to the bond holders. That's really the driving force behind this. But that particular Internal Revenue Code provision provides that the governing board of the county in which the project is located must conduct a public hearing on the bonds and actually vote to approve the bonds, even though beyond that you have nothing to do with them whatsoever. It's a totally private nonprofit fundraising effort from the Carolina International School. They're raising money to construct a new facility out on Poplar Tent Road, and I think you have copies of all the documents that relate to it. I think they set the final number at $12,950,000 in bonds, and these bonds are going to be issued through the Public Finance Authority, which is a authority that is organized under the laws of the state of Wisconsin. It actually has nothing to do with the state of North Carolina. They will be the entity through whom the bonds are issued. And in that sense, it's kind of similar to our Industrial Facilities and Pollution Control Authority that we have in Cabarrus County, which from time to time will issue some bonds. But in this particular case, it's not related to North Carolina authority, it's a Wisconsin authority, and the bonds will be issued through them, and then it'll be the proceeds will go to the construction of the school project. Also under that Internal Revenue Code provision, there's a 14-day notice period between the call of the public hearing and the actual public hearing itself. Ours are typically a little bit shorter. Because it is 14 days, if you were to do this at your regular work session meeting, there would not be enough time for the 14 days to elapse before your regular meeting on the 17th of June. It'd be short by 1 day. So and they apparently need to have this done in June, as I understand from the council for the school. So they had requested that the board consider this in advance of that June 3rd date to suspend your rules at this meeting and call for the public hearing to be on June 17th.
I have a couple quick questions. The public hearing will have to be advertised? Is that at our expense or their expense?
Their expense. They're taking care of that. I think we'll put it on our website or as we typically do. But in terms of actually, I think under the code, it does require that it be published in the newspaper. So our local legislation that we have I don't think would alter that provision. And they anticipate that they're still going to have to publish it in the newspaper.
Okay. Second, with all the talk of tax reform, and I'm just wondering, are tax exempt bonds going to go away for? I know you don't know that, but is this one of those that might be impacted by?
I'm not sure I can answer that question.
I'm just kind of curious because, we've talked about tax exempt and if any of that's going to go away with legislation and things that they're looking at, that the legislature's looking at. It'd be kind of interesting for them to have a public hearing and then with, whatever tax reform, then all of a sudden they've issued bonds and they're no longer tax exempt and we've gone through all this, so. If that's something they're thinking about. Commissioners, do you have questions or comments or anything you need to know from our attorney? Okay, if not, we would need a motion to suspend our rules. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now before us is a motion to set a public hearing for June 17th, 2013 on behalf of Carolina International School for the consideration of the issuance of tax-exempt bonds by the Public Finance Authority.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I'll inform their attorney. Thank you.
Okay.
Follow us, so would you have somebody, would you tell somebody from there that they need to be at our meeting in case there's any questions?
Yes, sir, I did. I already instructed them that we would take care of this today, but they need to have a representative at the June 17th meeting.
Who is the owner of this? What organization?
Commissioner Burridge, I really don't know much about that school. It's actually out in Harrisburg at the present time and has been operating for several years. And my understanding is they're building this new facility up near the corner of Poplar Tent Road and George Lyles Boulevard. I think that's where it is.
Cox Mill.
Oh, excuse me, Cox Mill, I'm sorry. Cox Mill. Right.
So they've been here for a while?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
It's a charter
It's
school.
one of the first charter schools.
Yeah.
Or it may have been the first charter school in Cabarrus County.
And I know of
We're on Farm Hill
several
Road or something?
parents that have their children going there throughout the county. I mean, some live in downtown, in fact, live on Georgia Street, and others living throughout the county. It's supposed to be a very good school.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, great. We would like to now call the CVB to come up, the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
We come in full force. Sorry, no, you're fine, you're fine.
We're glad to have you guys here today.
We are so glad to be here. Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you first and foremost for the opportunity for us to be in front of you this afternoon. We certainly appreciate it. As you know, we come before you at least twice a year, once for this purpose of our budget approval, and again, and later after July with our marketing plan so that we can share that all with you. And we do have our brand new destination guide is out, and we will leave those for you all if you haven't seen them yet. They're fantastic. They were a huge hit with our visitors over the race weekends, beginning with NHRA and the 10 days of racing that we just finished with. Whew, and we're all tired. So we are ending the year on a good note. We're currently ahead of last year's occupancy tax collection by about 8%. Now, however, with that being said, the national trend in demand for hotel room nights is down over about the last 5 months, and that goes for us as well. Our demand is trending down a little bit, but the good news on that is that our rate is gaining. So that's why we have that 8% overage right now. So it's ebb and flow, and as Phil can attest to, in the hotel world, with visitors in the economy, that is going to happen, and we're just happy that our rate is starting to come back. With the successes of the DNC this past fiscal year, it's positioned us to be able to go after some larger events and larger groups. One of them that we're really proud of to announce, and we have announced it in the past, is the Mustangs' 50th birthday celebration that will be in April over the Easter holiday next year. They expect about 10,000 Mustangs to be at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we're thrilled about that, and it will fill up all of our hotel rooms here in Cabarrus as well as overflow into Mecklenburg. Housing is already open for that, and it's filling up quickly, so we're very excited and anticipate that. Unconventional sports. I will say regular sports are still booming with us, as in soccer and lacrosse and stick and ball sports, but unconventional sports is kind of taking charge in Cabarrus, and it's exciting and fun to see some of the things that are coming up. A couple of the things that we have already booked is, again, the North Carolina Half Marathon. That's in its third year this coming year. And it represents about more than 40 states and actually has international participants. So we're thrilled about that. A fun one that we just got, and the way we got it was kind of interesting. So if you'll give me just a minute, it's called the Tough Mudder, and it's going to be held at the Foyle Farm in Mount Pleasant. And Tough Mudder, there's about 6,000 participants at this particular run. And it's very similar to, what's the
Warrior Dash.
The Warrior Dash, if you've heard of the Warrior Dash. It's a step above that, as being hard. You'll climb walls and all of these types of things. And when one of our salespeople went after this piece of business, we didn't know where we were going to host it. And he got on the GIS system and looked for a large area of land and found the Foyle Farm, and actually called her up and asked her if she would come and have a cup of coffee with him, and they sat down and discussed it, and she was more than happy to host this group out there. So it will be very exciting to see, and we will make sure we get all of you all registered for the Tough Mudder. I'll be watching, by the way. Another couple things that we're going after that we haven't secured yet would be the American Cornhole Association, International Distance Skateboard Association, Step Up Productions Wakeboard event. I know most of you will go wakeboard. I had to ask myself, wakeboard, where are they going to wakeboard at? They actually bring their own pools, and they're looking at the ZMAX Dragway, and they would set them up down the dragway and actually do wakeboarding competitions there. Very interesting and innovative. PBR Association, which is the Professional Bull Riders Association. We're looking at those, and Horseshoe Pitchers Association. So some unconventional sports groups. We already have 6 confirmed car clubs that are coming this next year. We are a great resource for these car clubs. As I mentioned before, we're almost out of meeting space, where we're maxed out with the Great Wolf Lodge and the Embassy being our 2 main sources of hotel meeting space. They're both award-winning properties, so they're very popular, and those spaces are almost maxed out for us to sell. So car clubs who don't require a lot of meeting space, they just require outdoor space, are a great low-hanging fruit and good fit for us. We fill in the gap with small groups and leisure. So that's kind of what we're going after currently, until someone decides to give us some more meeting space, until Phil expands and builds on. We can only hope. And last but not least, we are in the process in assisting the Charlotte Motor Speedway with bidding on the X Games. If you haven't already, we'd love for you to go onto social media and follow them on Twitter and like them on Facebook. There is a site visit with the site selection committee coming in June, and hopefully we'll know something by the end of June, and I think we have a really good chance of securing this bid. This would be a 2-week-long event for 3 consecutive years, which would be huge for us. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that we are highly anticipating the opening of Sea Life Aquarium, and hopefully that will be in February. And they're out there doing construction as we speak, and so more to come on that. We'll have some more as soon as we're working with their marketing people and trying to get the word out about that. And also, one more thing, that our marketing department has been spot on in social media, and we've been very targeted in social media on how do we get people to understand. That's where they're all using is social media. And in 2 months after a targeted approach, we have gone from 2,000 followers on our Facebook page to over 19,400. Unbelievable. And I'm going to say it, but we have surpassed Charlotte's Got a Lot on their Facebook page, so we actually have more followers on ours, and we're really excited about it. There's a little bit of friendly competition going on between us, so we're really happy about that. I'm going to turn it over to Phil Cunningham, who's the general manager for the Great Wolf Lodge, and also our board chair.
Good afternoon. Thanks for allowing us to be here. I just have 2 quick points that I want to talk about before John presents the budget, and that is the board has had the opportunity to review in depth the budget, and we went line by line, and the board approved the budget in April of this year. And quite frankly, we were very pleased, and we have been pleased over this past year with the administration of the budget and the costs. And one of the things that Donna and John has done pretty successfully is to maintain the budget with respect to no overages, and quite frankly, finding savings as much as possible. So we've been very pleased with that. But also within that budget, we've been able to really focus on our 2020 vision plan, and has either spent or allocated a total of $80,000 for feasibility studies on Exit 49 and how better to move traffic. And we commissioned a engineering firm, as well as we have a separate committee that is reviewing that process and are preparing documents along with the with a firm to present to the governor and to the Secretary of Transportation, as we believe this is very vital to Exit 49 and to this county with respect to transportation, so that we do not choke on ourselves in the future with respect to future growth without infrastructure. And so with that, I'll turn that over to John for the budget presentation.
All right, good afternoon. One of the things that we typically do when we set out to work on this budget is we have to stay in constant communication with our hoteliers. And along with that is to find out where they're trending, what are they seeing, using our own research data and things that are coming through. And in that, one of the things we decided to do this coming in next year, after the significant growth we've really seen in the last 4 years, was to look at budgeting flat over last year, with one exception, and that would be, of course, September with the DNC. So we dropped back about 28% off of that number because it was extremely successful for our hotel community. We ended up with a budget of $3,945,654 for next year. And one of the things that I'll always point out pretty quickly in this process is that that entire number does not come back to the Bureau. Out of that, about almost $900,000 is accounted for before we begin, or 23% of that total budget. Of that $900,000, we have roughly 10% of that, which would be about $400,000 of that total, comes back to the county. 5% with administrative collections that the county retains for collecting the tax, and also our current sports development marketing agreement we have with the county for another 5%, which again is roughly about $200,000. So again, combined out of that budget, $400,000 is coming back to the county. And also, we have about a $500,000 agreement with the Speedway that is existing, and we're in year 3 of a 10-year deal with them as well. Once those numbers come out, then we take a look at industry trends. We look at what our goals are along with the 2020 plan, and we try to make sure we're shaping ourselves as you look at salary costs, administrative costs, and marketing costs, and remain within industry standards. So, for example, our budget this year calls for 36% to be spent on salary costs, and the industry average is around 40 to 45. So we fall ourselves way within those standards. From an administrative standpoint, we're looking at about 15% on an industry standard of 17. And by controlling those costs, the big thing is it allows us to push the dollars back into marketing, which is what our ultimate mission is as a bureau. And so we're running about 49% of that budget versus about 43% on industry average. And again, any costs that are savings that we recognize through the budget year, if there's savings in salaries because of as turnover in staff, or we find savings, those monies ultimately will end up being pushed back into the marketing side of the organization, so we're able to ultimately to do what we need to do. As far as the staff goes, from a salary and wage standpoint, no staff changes. We have no increases or decreases planned for that. From an administrative standpoint, we're going to be looking at some computer equipment and an additional server. We are pretty maxed out on space currently. One of the things we do, we have a very talented Senior Vice President of Marketing who is very creative and is able to do a lot of in-house design and saves us a lot of dollars throughout the year. So additional equipment is going to be able to help us do that even more efficiently. And the last thing is the sales and marketing. And again, one of the things we're trying to accomplish through advertising is 49 million gross impressions is what our marketing team is going after. And one of the things that Donna mentioned is once we come out of this budget process, we will provide a sales and marketing plan that provides more tactics to that, how the advertising print media looks compared to the digital media. And then on the sales side, going after group business, we're looking at about 96,000 total room nights of opportunity. So that's our sales teams out pushing leads to the hotels, trying to create 96,000 room nights of opportunity. And that's spaced out over 3 or 4 years, because a lot of times when we're doing business, we're talking 2015, 2016, 2017, as another group's contract might be rolling off. So those are the major things that we're working on, and again, a sales and marketing plan with even more detail in that. You have a lot of information as well in your packet. Will be coming as well.
All right, Commissioners, questions? Commissioner White serves on the CVB's Board of Directors, so.
Yeah, and it's always a learning process. They're very kind to not laugh out loud, too loud, when I ask questions or trying to get a better understanding. But, my hat's off to Michael Banofsky and what he does. Michael Applegate does a tremendous job in regards to number crunching. He's like Rain Man, and he can pull up numbers and say, okay, we got this, we got that, we're trying to pull it out, and what do we, it's really it's not, let's try and get this next conference. It's, this conference is right for Cabarrus County, and this is how we need to market, because this is what's going to help us. And if I'm not mistaken, for $1 invested in tourism, it's $10 as a return.
Yes, sir, if not more.
If not more. So there's a lot there, and it's tremendous of what they do. if you don't believe it, then go to the corner of Weddington and Speedway Boulevard on a Saturday morning around 11 o'clock, and you'll quickly see what that is. And go to the Great Wolf Lodge and just sit in the comfortable chairs, eat a Dunkin' Donut, and watch the kids running around and
There you
seeing
go.
that.
There you
It's tremendous what happens, and the great thing about it is they're able to provide some opportunities for the county that we don't have to build schools. We don't have the infrastructure that's being done there. So it's very good, and it's a well-run organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other commissioners?
Well, thank you for what you do. I'm very much in favor of bringing people to Cabarrus County who will drop their money here and then go back home. And so I think that's a good thing. I did want to ask Commissioner White, as a member of that board, if you intend to run in this Tough Mudder run.
I was going to be the lead runner. I was going to be out front. You seen the rabbit at the Greyhound races. I just need to get me a headband that fits.
I'm glad to hear that you will represent us well.
It's like a three-legged race. I'll have you with the.
Well, I'll echo what everyone else has said. Thanks for what you're doing, and I'm very curious about what you had mentioned earlier regarding the exit 49, the traffic flow, and how that could be changed, because obviously something needs to be changed. Anyone that drives through there can see that, so I'd be interested to hear more about that, in the future. Sure.
We'd be happy to share those plans with you as we progress on. We'll be happy to share with you currently what we have to date. We can send that to the county offices, and you can look at that, and then as we progress, we'll be happy to keep you up to date on that.
That'd be great. I'd like to see it.
Sure.
Just to piggyback on that, Weddington Road is, which comes up just about the Great Wolf Lodge. They are looking at, I think the city is working on extending that road and tying it in with the other developments, which will help with people who work in that area.
Right.
There are some major issues as far as trying to get over 85, obviously. You can't just put a bridge anywhere, and that's a big concern that's been talked about. And the possibility of some transit, if you will, some type of trolleys or something to help move people. So it's along those lines, but in order to do any real impact, there's some huge dollar amounts. Even if you tried to put something, pedestrian bridge over 85, there's just some huge dollar amounts that they've been working with. So that's why it's still in the planning stages.
Right.
Somebody has to come up with the money, and
Right.
and I will be happy to let you all know that I did inform the group that it would not be Cabarrus County that was coming up with the money, so,
That's good.
y'all owe me for that one, I'm just kidding. They knew that going into it, but anyway, so, what I'd like to point out about your budget is that your budget is funded by the occupancy tax. So people that come into our community, if they stay in the hotel, they pay that tax, which is collected. And so we are not using property tax dollars, ad valorem dollars, to support your budget. Your budget is purely based on the property tax.
And if I could add to that,
mean
any
the
Cabarrus County
occupancy
resident,
tax.
any Cabarrus County resident that stays and shows their identification does not have to pay that tax. So it's
Right.
not paid locally at all.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know that, I've told people that, and I don't know that they know that, but let me make sure I said it correctly. It's paid by the occupancy tax, not by the ad valorem property tax. So,
Right.
we do have commissioners on our agenda. Are you requesting that we approve your budget tonight? Or is it for our?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we have on the agenda, so I want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay. We do still have a quorum here.
Unless you need to see it done, it will be done before we leave tonight. I mean, that way all 5 commissioners are here.
That's fine. No, that's fine.
That will be done.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you get
Well-
a text from me later, you'll know it's not done.
I'll tell you what, we
We'll
are.
plan on coming back if so.
No, it'll
Yeah,
get
it might
done.
not be the same number you asked for.
If we can, I was going to say, can we just take a 5-minute break and I don't want to start with the EDC without all of us in here, so
Okay.
if everybody would take just about 5 minutes, and then we'll start back up.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.